All right, so let's now head to Cape Town for today's developments into the impeachment hearing in Parliament of Public Protector Mkhwebane. A former investigator in her office says her controversial order that the South African Reserve Bank be nationalised came from the State Security Agency and not the Public Protector. Tebogo Kekana also alleged staff were told to remove the names of implicated politicians in the Vrede Dairy Farm report. You'll of course remember that report linked to that farm, linked to the Gupta family. NCS Lindsay Dentlinger has been following developments today. She joins us now. Good evening, Lindsay. Let's start with this comment about the Vrede Dairy Farm and that Kekana is saying basically that they were told to take out the names of implicated politicians. Did he say who exactly told them to take those names out of the final report?
Well, it wasn't so much about taking the names out, Sally, rather not to include names at all. That is what they were told. Tebogo Kekana was the lead investigator on that report after the original investigator, which was somebody in the Free State, allegedly the Public Protector gave the order that she be removed from investigating this matter because the Public Protector allegedly believed she was a DA member. And so Tebogo Kekana, who has been testifying here all day, took over that investigation, and among the bombshells he dropped here related to that investigation was, he said, the Public Protector said that investigators were not to rely on the Gupta leaks as part of this investigation, and which we now know formed a lot of the information that came out on this particular matter, and then also to ensure that no politicians are implicated in this report. So those are some of the damning accusations really against the Public Protector made by Tebogo Kekana here today. He is the first witness to be subpoenaed to appear before this committee, and he told MPs today why he did not want to appear here was because he still has a pending matter in the Labour Court in which he is trying to get his dismissal from the Public Protector's office overturned on charges of allegedly sharing confidential information. But here's that exchange he had with the evidence leader Nazreen Bauer this morning about the claims that he's making related to the Vrede Dairy Farm report.
You indicate to you that Mr. Ndau had said to you that Advocate Mkhwebane had instructed him not to make any findings in the report against any politician. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And you then say we were forced to remove adverse findings contained in the report against politicians, including the then Premier and the then MEC for Agriculture.
That's correct.
And who removed it?
I think it was a collective effort between I and Mr. Aidani.
Now, can you recall what transpires in early February? What then happens in respect of the report?
Well, as indicated in my affidavit, on the 8th of February, we were instructed to report to the PP's boardroom for a meeting. We attended the meeting, and in that meeting, we were instructed that we needed to finalize the reports, and the report was subsequently projected on a screen, and the PP instructed us to remove certain material or information from the report.
I mean, that is quite a startling claim, that they were told specifically don't mention politicians' names, and when they did mention politicians' names, and I just saw from that the part of the document, Ace Magashule, of course the Premier at the time, that name came up, and they were told by the Public Protector to remove those names. That is going to take quite a bit of explaining to understand why she would do that. Then, of course, the issue of her report into ABSA and the Reserve Bank. And if I'm not mistaken, and Lindsay, you'll give me better context here, around the Reserve Bank issue, when she was basically saying it should be nationalised. She was found by the courts to have really overstepped her powers, if I'm not mistaken.
Correct, Sally, she was, and that was not within her mandate to be able to make such a recommendation that the Constitution be amended. And what we heard from Tebogo Kekana was that in several draft versions of this report, there was no such recommendation. He spoke about a meeting with the State Security Agency on this particular issue, where he was allegedly blocked by Busisiwe Mkhwebane from taking notes or from recording that meeting, which he found in his words odd, because all meetings that the Public Protector apparently has in terms of investigations are recorded in some way, and Tebogo Kekana telling this meeting that he also found it odd that Busisiwe Mkhwebane was talking to the then State Security Minister David Mkhlobo on the sidelines of this meeting alone and not including any other officials. He said that was not usual practice when people were meeting with somebody who might be implicated or who is providing evidence for a particular investigation. But moreover, he said that the instructions, so to speak, to the Reserve Bank for the Constitution to be amended to nationalise the bank essentially came from the State Security Agency, that a so-called economist who was working with the State Security Agency produced a small document in which a proposed amendment was drafted, and he was instructed to include that recommendation in the report. Here's that exchange with the evidence leader on that particular matter.
She did indicate to me that the SSA would bring a draft amendment to the constitutional provision.
And up until that stage, have you drafted such an amendment?
No.
You then point out in paragraph 25 that this email was inexplicably omitted from the Rule 53 record. Why do you say that?
I know it wasn't part of the record.
How do you know that?
I think if it was or would have been part of the record, there would have been a media outcry on that. No. So I remember it didn't form part of the record.
Mr. Kekana, were you involved in the compilation of the Rule 53 record?
Yes, initially I was.
Did you include this letter in that compilation that you put together?
Yes, I did print everything. That was, well, I printed everything and it was in the investigation file, made a copy of everything and gave it to the senior manager for legal at the time.
Very interesting indeed. Of course, tomorrow he's going to face a cross-examination. It's going to be interesting to see what comes out when what he says is tested. And of course, you will be there every step of the way explaining it all to us. And thank you very much for that update, ENCA's Lindsay Dentlinger in Cape Town.